Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for your patience and thank you for joining us today for Men's Health. We're celebrating Men's Health Week, which is the week of Father's Day, and you guys know Father's Day was just on Sunday. So we're celebrating you gentlemen by talking a little bit about some health conditions for men, preventable health disease, and to heighten awareness of things that we can do to stay healthier. Now, I know most of you, but let me just introduce myself again. I'm Julie with CompassionCare Hospice. We are a provider of medical, social, and emotional support to those with life-limiting illnesses. But we also want to provide good health and wellness education. I always say I'm not recruiting for hospice. I hope you don't need us for a really long time, but we want to give you education so you can stay as healthy as possible for as long as possible. So today we're going to talk about a couple of things. Heart disease and prostate health specifically for men. And for us ladies here in the room, it's really important as well because heart disease, unfortunately, is still the #1 cause of death for both men and women. So we're going to hopefully give you a little bit of information, how we can be a little bit healthier in our lives. We brought you some refreshments. We went with oatmeal raisin cookies because oatmeal's better for you than chocolate chips. Okay? So Men's Health Week, again, is to heighten the awareness of preventable health problems and encourage early detection and treatment of health conditions among men. When this started back in 1994, they said recognizing and preventing men's health is not just a man's issue because of its impact on wives, mothers, sisters, daughters. It really is a family issue. And I know there's several ladies in here. We all have men in our life, don't we? Whether it's a spouse, a son, a brother, an uncle, we have men in our life, so it's good that we can be educated and we can encourage those men in our life as well. So according to the gentleman who heads up the Men's Health Network, they say that we have a silent health crisis in America. And that health crisis is that men on average live sicker and die sooner than women here in America. Why do you think that is, that men live sicker and die earlier than women?
They're afraid to go to the doctor.
They're afraid to go to the doctor. And they live with women. You know, that's come up a couple of times in our classes, absolutely, as one of the causes. But you're right, you kind of nailed it on the head. I don't know if it's a fear, but they say that women are 100% more likely to see the doctor for annual exams and what we call preventable health care. You know, we're really used to from a young age going into the doctor and having annual exams as a woman. You know, I think with men a lot of times it's, you know, unless we sever a limb and the limb's falling off, it'll heal. I don't have to go to the doctor. So men have been raised to just, you know, suck it up and be strong and don't worry, you don't need to go to the doc. But really we want to be as healthy as we can be, and there are so many things that can be either prevented or if caught early, we can have treatment and we can live a long and healthy life. So it's really important. They say that men actually die about 5 years earlier than women. If we look back to 1920, it was a 1-year difference. Men on average were dying 1 year earlier. Now it's 5 years. Now, 1920 is not that long ago. That's a big age difference. They say that men are 90% more likely to die in work-related deaths, and we can kind of understand that statistic, right? Because a lot of those high-risk jobs, things like policemen and firemen and construction work, have traditionally been held by men, even though we're seeing more women in those career fields. And so we can understand in those topics, but when we start talking about things like heart disease and issues like that, men are dying on an average of 5 years earlier. So as I said, women are 100% more likely to see the doctor for preventative health. Another big reason is they say that depression goes undiagnosed in men. Again, I think generationally, we were kind of brought up to believe, you know, men should be strong and, you know, things happen and you might be sad, but get over it. They really are wanting to push that, you know, depression is not a normal part of aging and it can be treated. And as we get older, of course, we have losses in our life. We may have lost a loved one. We may be grieving the loss of our independence, having to live in a community setting versus by ourselves in our own home. We have losses, and sometimes it's really helpful to talk with someone about that. If you're feeling that you have signs of depression, they really want to encourage you to talk with the doctor. There are medications and treatments for that, and it's not just a normal part of aging.